But without further ado, I'd like to introduce our first guest speaker, Murray Byfield, who is going to be talking to us about Murray and his gorgeous wife out the back, Michelle, live at Morpeth and own a business in the main street there called Apparitions, which is a gift store. You must go and buy stuff from there. Murray also runs Morpeth Ghost Tours, and he does tours out of Morpeth and out of Person. He also has a number of different Facebook pages. He's also a very talented musician. And he's probably the very first person in the area to have actually started a web page to do with the paranormal called Unexplained Australia. So we all kind of think we discovered the wheel, but we actually haven't. Murray was doing it far longer than any of us around here. So here's Murray. Do you need lights, Murray? What do you want?
Maybe. Unless you feel more comfortable in the dark, I don't know, I do. No, it's okay, we've got to do the video. So, well, thank you very much, everybody, for turning up, and thank you for inviting me and Anne for inviting me along tonight, and to do one of my favourite things, which is talk. Which was opposite to what I used to be as a child. I hardly used to talk at all. But I'll just get started. I have to use my flipper a bit for you. Find it here. Oh, there you go. Okay, so just starting off, I'm just going to talk a little bit about myself. Contrary to popular belief, I actually don't like talking about myself. I'd actually like to prefer to talk about a topic in myself. But that's a picture of me down at the Gosford Horror Lift starting not long ago. A couple of weeks ago, actually the Paranormal weekend was when I was down there. Way back, up here. So yeah, I've like most of us in the paranormal field, it's been an interest all my life, really. My first investigation was probably wandering around the local cemetery there at Raymond Terrace when I was a kid. So, active-wise, doing active investigation probably started around about 2000, which was that same cemetery that I used to visit as a child a lot, and really didn't have any idea what I was doing. Just taking photos and doing audio recordings and stuff like that, and really didn't know what I was doing. And with me, when I started, and this isn't sort of something important, but I was sort of doing this before any of the ghost shows come on TV, like Ghost Adventures or Taps or anything like that. So, I mean, that piqued my interest a little bit more when they come on TV, but I was doing it a little bit before that. Pretty much these days, I'm pretty much an independent sort of investigator. If I get a case that comes up, I don't generally chase cases these days. If I do, I just invite one other person along with me who I trust, usually Renata or any other colleagues of mine who were interested at the time. So, yeah, so I'm head researcher and investigator for Unexplained Australia since 2007. Nearly been online for 10 years, which is scary. And I do ghost tours like Renata. Been doing that since 2011. I've done a few paranormal investigation courses also with Renata. Also, another sort of side interest of mine is doing just short web documentaries about different ghost stories and local folklore and that kind of jazz. And I'm also very much into the history side of things as well, and that just ties into the whole ghost tour situation. So that's my website, unexplainedaustralia.com. I don't really have any cases on there, it's more about information. So it's information about ghosts, UFO thing, I'll go on board and I'll tell you about it. So, unlike since 2007, I've just mainly got Australian cases now. This is what I like to focus on. I prefer Australian mysteries. I'm very pro-Australia in this sense. I know that the world has got a lot of interesting things to offer, but I think we overlook our own soil far too much, and that's what I like to focus on. I'm not saying I don't have any stories on there that aren't about overseas things, but I like to focus on the Australian stuff. So that's ghosts and hauntings, cryptozoology, UFOs and aliens. Michelle's actually more of the UFO buff than me. I've seen one, but I don't know what they are. I don't jump to conclusions and say, oh, look, they're alien spacecraft. I don't really know. All I know is I've seen one that did something that conventional aircraft really shouldn't be able to do. Anomalous archaeology as well, so that's archaeology that doesn't quite fit with the Australian historical record, I suppose. And that's shipwrecks that shouldn't be here. The Gympie Pyramid, ever heard of the Gympie Pyramid before? I'll talk about it later if you want to ask me later, but it's very interesting. And the Gospel Hieroglyphs and stuff like that. Occult and religious mysteries, very much interested in occult mysteries and religious mysteries as well. And in particular cases in the Hunter Newcastle region. Okay, and this is my business, my little hobby, Hunter Valley Ghost Tours. As Renata said, I do ghost tours in a couple of different areas. That was a picture in the Port Stephens example, that's good for. I started in Roman Terrace. I'm a Roman Terrace guy, I'm a terrace lad. And Roman Terrace has got a fantastic history, and we've actually got lots and lots of ghosts there, believe it or not, lots of ghost stories at least. Murray Terrace is a river port town, just like Morpeth is, and that's the reason the town's there. Just like Morpeth, exactly the reason why Morpeth is there. Patterson's the same again, it's another river port town, so I do these, it's funny, I do the tours in all the river port towns. But my main one is in Morpeth, that's the one that I set up as my bread and butter tour, if you know what I mean. And lots of people enjoy that tour, have a lot of experiences on that tour. What I like to do, and completely to what I used to be like, because I know in the early days people used to like to call me skeptic, but that's not true. I'm skeptical, I'm not a skeptic, which is a big difference. And yeah, so I like to do little psychic experiments in the night. It's funny how often that people pick up the same stuff night after night. Not every night, but there's usually one person in the crowd that you can say, oh no, you're the one that's going to be picking up on the stuff tonight psychically. So yeah, a mixture of ghost stories, fairly well-known stories, and history and folklore and that kind of jazz as well. So yeah. Also, in addition, as Renata mentioned, you can't really see there, but this is Saturn rules up here. This is an ongoing joke that we've got. But yeah, so I've been doing, actually, music, I've been doing music more than anything else in my life. I've been playing since I was 17 years of age, and I still do to this day. That's still my, probably, I won't say it's my number one passion, but it is definitely a passion equal to paranormal. Okay, 11 Tree Passage Ghost case. I'm a lot younger there, more handsome than now. This is probably the biggest case that I've had involvement with, and I appeared on a couple of news programs and Today Tonight and radio stations and stuff like that. And personally, I hate dealing with the media. I don't know, Renata and Andy, do you like dealing with the media? I hate dealing with the media because no matter how much you try to put yourself across as a professional, they'll find a way to make it seem cheesy.
And most of the time they end up missing the point of what's going on.
Exactly. And they usually end up using the X-Files theme or the Ghostbusters theme tune somewhere along the line. So. But that's an interesting case. I actually don't believe that light, again, if you want to ask me about it later, you're quite welcome to. I don't believe that light is a ghost, it's just a light. But having said that, I do believe that it is it's got a creepy vibe along there. So, and there's been many, many deaths there over the years as well. So there's definitely something to it, but I don't think this light is a part of that equation. So that story that I was part of led to this movie being made. Has anyone seen it?
Yeah, started watching it.
Started watching it?
Yeah.
Everyone ragged on it and said it was the most terrible thing that's ever seen, so I had really, really low expectations. And when I watched it, I just watched it online, and I was actually quite surprised. I thought it was like that. I thought it was okay. I didn't think it deserved the rap that it got, the bad rap that it got. So, yeah. So I'm also a writer and soon to be author, hopefully. So I write all the articles on my own page. I'm a contributor to the Australian Times, which is an online magazine, I suppose. I've contributed a couple of stories to Renata's Ghost Stories book, and also to Mark Warbank's Talking to Shadows book. And I'm currently, when I ever get around to finish the damn thing, my own book on ghosts and hauntings and how to hunt them and things like that. And this is coming from my perspective too, the way I'm running this. I don't tell people what to believe or the way to do things, but this is the way that I've done things and what I've found is successful. Okay, so the mystery topic is dark hooded beings. Now, this is something that Renata sort of said on the Facebook there that not a lot of people know about or talk about. And you're probably at this point thinking to yourself, well, this guy's a nutter, has he not taken his medication today? He's off his meds. But no, this topic actually came to me quite naturally, and came to me well before the internet was around, but there wasn't many people on the internet when I first started hearing about this stuff. And the very first story that I heard about these beings was a girlfriend of a drummer I was working with at the time. And like now, back then, I used to like talking about ghosts and UFOs and blah, 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 all that kind of jazz, all the paranormal stuff, all the weird and creepy stuff. And we're in between brackets at a gig one night, and we were talking, and she started talking about these beings that used to appear to her mainly when she was a child, but from memory this is a long time ago, I'm trying to remember all the things she told us, but mainly as a child, but sometimes as an adult. And she would say that she would be in bed, and most of these occurrences with these guys happen when people are either in bed or asleep. And she said they would stare at her, stare intently at her as she was in bed, and she was scared to death of this thing as a child. And she went on to tell us other things that this would quite often list to more than one, and they used to come into a bedroom and they'd lead her outside. But not only that, they'd lead her outside and they'd put her in situations which are quite dangerous. You know, they'd take her, you might fall off a bridge or down a pothole or something, they'd seem to take you to these really strange places, like dangerous places. So, nut job, this girl's a bit just lost. It's lost a couple of marbles. And then, fast forward maybe a year or so later, we're having dinner at a friend's place, and we start talking about this and we think this girl's a bit, a couple of and short. And he sort of looked at us very, with a very straight face and went, I've had an experience with him too. And bear in mind that this guy, and Renata knows him, is a part of the, I won't say what government body he's part of, but he's in the rescue business. And he sort of, as I said, he kind of looked at us kind of strangely, and he said, I've had plenty of experiences with these. And again, mostly as a child, was when he had these experiences. And he said, and this was a little bit different, but they all kind of have common themes, which I'll get at. How much time have we got, Renata, by the way? Because I will gap.
8:30-ish.
Okay, cool. Alright, so what was it? This will happen, by the way.
This guy.
Oh yes, that's right. This on my tours. It happens all the time. What was I just talking about? They go,
I don't remember anything else today.
So but anyway, so what would happen with him? He said this was almost a nightly occurrence that happened to him, and he said the first thing that he would see, he was in his bedroom, and he had a tough childhood, this guy. But anyway, I can't get too much into it. But anyway, he said that a blue triangle, probably that colour blue, would appear in the corner of his bedroom. I don't really know what the significance of the triangle was. But then he said his bed used to fall into the floor, and then these beings would come. These beings just like this. So there was two incidents, and by the way, I never looked for this stuff. I've never read it in a book. It's on the internet now. There's a couple of pages on it. I've got a page on it. There's a couple of other pages that are kind of exploring it a bit, but there's not a lot of people already studying it. And so I didn't, it was only first-hand accounts where I got this information. So, okay, so these guys, the description, pretty much, dark hooded beings, entities, depending on what you'll call them, are usually described as 3 foot tall or 1 metre in height, usually. Wearing a dark cloak with a hood, much like the Grim Reaper style, or a scary version of the Jawas.
Well, I thought the Jawas were scary anyway.
Others describe them as being like monks, wearing monks' cowls and robes and things like that. And usually the faces aren't seen under the hood, but occasionally seen with red eyes. Now, red eyes is important, so I should remember that. And facial features are rarely described in accounts with these guys. As I said there before, usually they are described as only about 3 foot tall, and both of my friends, they describe them as being small, not tall. And but some people do describe them as tall. Okay, to whom and where do they appear? Hooded beings, seem to appear most often, as I said before, to children, which becomes a little bit problematic because children have pretty wild imaginations. So that's something you've got to take into account when trying to find out what this stuff's all about. When reported by adults, they usually describe the experiences when they were children, although there are plenty of instances where they have them as adults, these experiences as adults. As I said before, they're usually seen at night during bedtime sort of thing, in the middle of the night, usually when people get, and quite often, they're sometimes seen in dreams, but usually most people actually describe them, they believe they're quite lucid when they actually experience them. I don't know if I've got it on here, but I have an account where people were seeing them in different parts of their room. So yeah, it's definitely a nighttime occurrence, a nocturnal thing. Okay, so their behaviour. When awakened, witnesses describe hooded figures as intensely staring down at them, as I said before about my friend. They sit and they stare, which evokes intense fear and paralysis. Sometimes vibrating or low humming sounds are often felt and heard. This is important as well, because this is something that happens a lot. This is described a lot with these guys. Something, as I said before, with that first account that I was talking about, they beckon the witness out of bed and lead them outside. Usually this is to a natural area, natural setting. Very rarely do you get accounts of these guys in the city. I haven't got any, I don't think. Unless they're in a house, or something. In some cases, but not all, these beings will show witnesses disturbing things. So they'll show them medical experiments they're doing. They'll show them impending disasters and just nasty, some really, really nasty imagery. Even they'll give you, prophetic information as well. And on the other end of the spectrum, some people have very positive experiences with these guys. So, and healings. So sometimes more positive messages and healings are performed on the subject matter beings. Now, hooded entities, actually, they're normally actually described as being in groups, not singularly. They are seen singularly, but mostly in groups. And when they are in a group, they are very formal. So if they're walking out that door, they do it in a formal line, the one after the other, single file. So they're very formal. It's just, isn't it bizarre? It's just weird stuff. So, okay, so the reaction to these guys, as you could appreciate, is usually fearful. Intense fear, panic, curiosity, and then, as I said before, sometimes even positive, but usually fear is the one that people feel the most. And this is another interesting point here, telepathy. They don't communicate verbally with the witnesses. It's always they're speaking to them telepathically. It's very rare that they actually openly speak, orally speak. As I said before, some describe them as a dreamlike experience. So some people do see them in their dreams. There's someone in the room who I won't point out who has seen them in their dreams. And some other people, like I said before, believe it is a very real physical experience. They're there in the room with them. Okay, so this is a fairly typical account of a hooded being. So I'm on you right, Jeff? You're right. So this is, once I put my story on my website, I just encourage people to send me emails of their accounts, and so I've got quite a few. Not all of them are here, but yeah, so this is a fairly typical account. So when I was young, I don't remember the exact age, somewhere between 5 and 8, because I was scared of the dark, I would frequently get up in the night and go to the living room and sleep on the couch. For whatever, sleeping on the couch was less scary to me. We had this old hand-me-down couch from the 70s, all mustard yellow, orange, and brown, and it was located at one end about 5 foot from my parents' bedroom. Each and every time I slept on this couch, I would have a dream. The dream was me waking up on that couch, looking into my parents' room. The room was dark, pitch black, like a black hole, empty black, and a line of these small hooded creatures were coming out of the room. They wore cloaks like a monk, even making a humming noise. The hands looked like rodents. This is unusual, this rodent sort of stuff, and just barely visible. Small snout and faces under the hoods. A reddish glow from under their eyes, from the hood, sorry. And they were walking slowly out of the room toward the kitchen, which leads outside, like they were leaving. I was always certain they'd killed my parents. It was a bad feeling, scary, but also businesslike. As best I can describe it, they had come and done what they had to do. This only happened when I slept on that particular couch. I don't remember having it at any other time and haven't had the dream since I was on that old couch. I don't believe in haunted items or that sort of thing, but finding that countless others have had similar such experiences, my dreams encounters has really thrown me for a loop. So that's a fairly, that one kind of encapsulates most of the stuff with these beings. What are they? This is a big question. Okay, everyone here knows what a shadow person is, do they? Who doesn't know what a shadow person is? Everyone know? Pretty much? Yep. Okay, so as you know, shadow people have a fairly typical MS. They do certain things. So a lot of people go, oh, that was a shadow being or shadow person. But as you know, as you can see, with you have the two figures here. You have the hooded figure or the hat man. That's usually the ones people see. Okay. Shadow people are a relatively modern phenomenon. In some cases go back hundreds, maybe thousands of years. Have become more recognisable due to unique ghost reality TV shows. Two times reported, the hat man and the hooded figure. And oh yes, also the hooded figure and the hat man have also been described as having red eyes as well. Other reports are shapeless wispy black blobs and swirling columns of dark smoke, thin dark smoke. Shadow people characteristics. Now, what I'm trying to do here is show you the difference between these hooded beings and the shadow people. They're quite distinct, they're distinctly different from each other. Shadow people's movement is often described as very quick and disjointed. They may first move slowly, as if they were passing through a heavy liquid, then rapidly hop to another part of the witness's surroundings. Shadow people are similar to ghosts, but different in that shadow people are not generally reported. Well, they are human figures, but they're not typical ghostly type figures. So we talk about ghosts as well. Furthermore, ghosts are reported as usually like a grey, translucent, or even full colour. Ghost-like apparitions sometimes attempt to communicate with the living. The appearance of shadow people seems to be more fleeting. What I'm getting to there is that shadow people generally don't try to communicate with people. They tend to, once they're seen, like most people see them at the corner of their eye, usually a corner of the eye, phenomenon, and people not sure if they've seen anything or not. So they're very quick. They seem to, if these things are real and it's not some sort of pareidolia or something like that, that they don't seem to want to communicate or interact with humans at all. They want to be gone. Okay, so are shadow people and hooded beings the same phenomenon? In my opinion, they're not the same phenomenon. As I said there, although the physical descriptions of shadow people and hooded beings are similar, their behaviour largely differs. Shadow people accounts are usually corner of the eye phenomena. Their behaviour is often evasive and skittish. They usually vanish as soon as they're seen into walls and floors and don't appear to interact with the witnesses. Does anyone have had an experience with a shadow person who they've actually, there's been some sort of connection? No? Has anyone seen one? Yeah, usually they're singular in appearance. Not often are they seen with other ones of a simple description. So in contrast, dark hooded beings interact directly with the witness. They move slower in an orderly fashion. They appear very methodical and have a purpose. They appear singly and in groups, and they use telepathy to communicate with the witness. So these things the shadow people don't tend to want to communicate with us at all. So encounters usually happen in the night when witnesses are in bed, where shadow people can be any time of day. Usually when people are wide awake. Okay, so I've got a few accounts here. The ones that I've sort of collected from the website. Staring down behaviour. This is an example of the staring down behaviour of these guys. It's an account by R. This time describing hooded being standing over him and staring at him. He said, I would like to share an experience that happened to me about 13 years ago. I was asleep in bed and was suddenly woken by a presence of something. I looked up and saw a black hooded figure standing over me. It reached out an open right hand towards me as if I should take it. I was scared out of my mind and ducked under the duvet. About 1 minute later, I came out from under the duvet and there was nothing there. I got out of bed and went to the living room and tried not to fall back asleep due to fear. So I think this is a very creepy image. I mean, that's pretty much what people describe. Actually, usually they're telling difference. So as I was saying before, telepathy and this transmission of horrific and disturbing images. As you said, this is an Australian account. I think the last one was an American one. Dear Murray, I have just come across your site on the net. I experienced this phenomenon when I was about 5 years old, living in Ararat, Victoria. I was in bed and was just sorry, what was that? I was in bed and it was getting light and I woke to go to the toilet. I cannot remember exactly how many of them were in my room, but there was one against the window, another near the fireplace in my room, and also near the door, and one next to my bed. There could have been one or two more, but as I said, I can't remember exactly. They wore what I would describe as monk's cowls. I could not see their faces as they were in darkness. They seemed to be tall and were motionless, but they were looking at me. I was so afraid that I wet my bed, I don't know what this person is, and I pulled the sheets over my head. Then I remember nothing. It was like I went back to sleep and awoke again, and they were gone. I don't know why I did not scream, but they seemed to talk to me, not in words, but thoughts in my mind. They warned me that if they would come back if I told anybody. I was terrified for years that they would come back. I have an idea that they have been back as I had bizarre dream when I was in my 40s. This is another account. They subjected me to some horrific scenes, and I was screaming and screaming. And I remember saying, "What did you do that for?" Their answer was, "To test your emotions." They also showed me this really weird scenery, as the colours were not quite like Earth, and like it was their planet. And you know, nobody got not another, etc., etc. So yeah, there's things that are happening in all these cases that parallel the other ones. So because if someone told you this, you'd think, oh, that's just some random weird stuff. You know, but when you get more and more cases, each case backs up the last one. So this person here, OBE, out-of-body experience of past life. This guy seemed to believe he seemed to think he knew what they were, but he wasn't willing to really elaborate anyway. I've experienced these beings when out-of-body in past life regression session. I call them Reapers of the Grim. The first experience happened about 15 years ago. I asked them who they were and was a bit confused when I got the answer. I have strong feelings that they are dimensional. I think what he meant there was interdimensional. Beings that are very connected to the human experience. I have lots of personal info in regards to my contact with these beings, but I'm reluctant to elaborate until more people come forward. This one's interesting, actually. I've just had to, because there's so much information there, I had to just cut out the first part. But the first part was this lady who, I think she was in Queensland somewhere, and she woke up and she saw one of these figures standing over her husband who was asleep. And she went to kick it. Get away from her husband. But then later that day, she spoke to her mother, and this is what her mother said. So that day I called my mum as I needed to talk to someone else who could not shake it from my mind. After speaking about her past week, she asked how I was, and I mentioned that I had an odd experience, which caused them the worst fear I have ever experienced. I told her I was so frightened that I was paralysed with fear, and I have never experienced anything like it. Rather than listening to me and allowing me to proceed with my story, she stopped me. "Stop right there, don't tell me anymore," she said. "You woke in bed and something staring and standing over you, and you screamed." My legs immediately turned to jelly and I had to sit down. I got goosebumps all over. The exact same thing happened to my mother the night before on July the 14th, although the mass was more detailed. A shorter being, hood-like mine, as she described it, resembling something out of Star Wars. The person I saw was much taller, around my husband's height of 5'11", but I do get the Star Wars connection. So that was interesting, that there was basically the same lady that had this very similar account. This one here is, this lady didn't speak, as she says down the bottom of the image, Peter, sorry for my English, she doesn't speak English very well, or write English very well. But this image here is something, yeah, this is something she came up with the computer graphic, that she said this is what she saw. So she said, I found her article about the dark-hooded figures, and I must tell you, a long time ago I had an experience with one of them. I was 5 or 6 years old when I was going to sleep. About, it's 10 o'clock, isn't it? Is that right? And laying in bed. I saw a person in a brown monk robe with red glowing eyes. It always comes back to this red glowing eyes business, like in the photo. He looked at me and flew straight across the room by the wall. He levitated about 5 to 10 centimetres under the floor. I think that means his feet might have been under the floor. But my room was on the second floor, and I saw that he flew across the wall. He continued flying about 8 metres under the grass. I felt a paralysing scare, but today I remember the experience like something positive. So there's a positive experience with that one. Okay, so this is a fellow from the UK. And this is sort of talking about the telepathy and prophecy stuff. So hi, I'm Steve from the UK. I've been visited, followed and been aware of a hooded figure with white eyes, which is unusual, white eyes like rings for years. About 6 months ago it showed itself to me and invited it in my house. Once inside, who would do that? I could not see could see mentally communicate with these three beings. They told me I shouldn't be alive and won't be soon. They said they've been watching me and my mother for years. Since that night, the white eyes and the feeling of natural change in the air still scares me. That's my encounter. P.S. Life has been terrible since that night. I think they could have been warning me. Other possible explanations. Okay, so trying to find out what something is, we kind of need to eliminate what they're not. So, are they ghosts? Your opinion? What's your opinion? Do you think they're ghosts? I mean, they don't act like ghosts, they don't behave like ghosts. So, as it says here, ghosts usually describe as hazy, translucent, full colour, solid human figures which do something that would seem impossible, like walk through a wall or vanish into a locked room or something like that. Ghosts usually, when I say ghosts here, I'm talking about an apparition. I'm not talking about a spirit. I'm seeing what people would see when people see a ghost with their eyes, what they pretty much describe. They usually seem unconcerned with the witness. They don't really care. They just go about their business. Often seen doing the same things in the same place over and over again. The other interesting thing with ghosts that they usually seen wearing clothing from a different period of time. And the difference between these guys and ghosts is these guys seem to be very uniform in height and what they wear and stuff like that. So we ghosts are unique human individuals, usually. And ghosts usually appear singularly. Has anyone seen more than one ghost at once? I would say one. I mean, I've seen 3, but I've only seen 1 at any given time. They don't normally try and interact with witnesses, etc. Christ's apparitions are the exception here because Christ's apparitions will appear to people and try and pass on a message. You know what Christ's apparitions are? No? It used to happen a lot in the world wars and the very serious wars. It can happen at any time. But a lot of instances were described in the world wars where, say, your husband was over fighting the Germans over in France somewhere, and he was killed. And he would appear at your house at the time of death, and you would try and communicate with him. That's a crisis apparition. Okay, now this is one of the areas which has the most similarities as far as I'm concerned. The alien abduction phenomenon. Now, I don't necessarily believe in alien abduction either, but the similarities between these dark hooded figures and the alien abduction is very, very similar. So, many alien abductees describe interacting with fantastical beings such as fairies, angels, and sometimes animals such as owls and cats and things like that, which are basically a cover for the world. This is what, like your guys that do, that do hypnotic regression for people who have alien abductions. They usually get rid of the masking figure and it turns out to be an alien, like a grey or something like that. So, yeah, so what they say, what I guess what I'm getting at to here is that these dark-hooded beings, could be aliens who have got like a skin on them, so to speak. Aliens are also described as being orderly and doing things systematically. They look very similar height, wearing similar clothing, the black thereof, and particularly the greys. The greys are very methodical in the way that they do things. The greys, how much are you into ufology, aliens and stuff? A lot of people think the greys are a slave race, or they're even androids.
Aren't they tall though? Are they tall greys?
Greys normally described as shorter. There are taller ones.
Yeah.
There are taller ones as well.
There's a group called the Tall Greys.
Yeah, there probably is. There's probably.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not any expert on Asian training standards, but yeah, usually greys are kind of your 3 foot tall, you know, big guys that well, everyone pretty much knows about these guys. But it's more the behaviour that we're interested in here. Okay. But aliens, this is another similar, another parallel here. Sorry. Aliens have also shown disasters to human beings in abduction cases. So they've been shown, you know, maybe nuclear bombs going off, and you know, and floods and droughts and stuff. And the idea here is that they're saying, well, if you don't look after the planet, this is what's going to happen to you. So that's sort of a parallel between these guys. Okay, abductees. Well, as you know, the old probe. Often medical procedures are conducted, or at least, yeah, you get the point. Abductees quite often describe being let outside by greys as well. So they're kind of abducted under their own will, so to speak, or under some sort of hypnosis. So they're let outside. Well, not in every case, but in some cases. And also the mental telepathy, that's another parallel between this. So that the aliens don't generally, in cases like this, don't generally verbally speak to the witness, they communicate telepathically. So to me, there's other explanations, but to me that's probably the closest. Are they interdimensional beings? Does everyone know what that one figure is there? Mothman. My favourite, one of my favourites, all-time favourites. I love Mothman. So, has everyone read the Mothman Prophecies book? Yeah. Very different to the movie, where the movie was kind of just all about the Mothman, but the movie kind of left out all the alien, the Men in Black stuff, the UFOs and stuff. But so one idea here is, and the interesting thing about most interdimensional or ultra-terrestrial beings, that's what John Keel called them, ultra-terrestrials. And Yowie fans over here will know that a lot of researchers consider the Yowie an interdimensional being or an ultra-terrestrial being. And what do Yowies often have in the dark? Glowing red eyes. So it seems to be a possible connection between these as well. Also with Mothman, there was prophecies being made. So that was by a character called Ingrid Cold.
Isn't the Mothman connected a lot with the Native American Indian mythology?
Oh yeah.
There's the Thunderbird, I think.
Yeah.
Which is a massive eagle.
Yeah.
But I don't know if that's a direct connection.
Well, we watched a documentary where they heard about Native Americans who put a curse on the town because.
Oh yeah, I heard that one. Who knows? Well, as I said before, your Bigfoot style creatures like your Sasquatch and your Yowie, etc., are often described as having very glowing eyes. Also, the black shark. We're a big fan of the black shark. Everyone know what black shark is? Black shark is a. If anyone watch Supernatural?
Anything like Ray Fry's Bobby?
Sorry.
No.
What was that?
Ray Fry's Bobby, the little terrier that sits on his owner's grave in the churchyard.
Well, he's connected with churchyards, yeah. So black shark's a big black dog, which is apparently supposed to guard cemeteries in the United Kingdom mainly. So, and often they're seen, these big black dogs with red glowing eyes. So, also, you've got the Jersey Devil and stuff in the US. They're often described as having the red glowing eye. So all these kind of cryptic creatures and interdimensional type stuff always seem to have these red glowing eyes. It seems to be another parallel. Okay, another very possible explanation for this stuff is the old hag syndrome. And does anyone not know what that is? Do you know what it is? Okay, the old hag syndrome is basically a form of sleep paralysis. Scientific explanations is basically that when we're asleep and we're dreaming, our mind has a switch that switches off our physical bodies from acting out in our dreams. So, if you're in a fight, kicking and punching and stuff, so you don't actually physically do it. So usually a lot of sleep paralysis is usually, and I had it once, which I don't believe is what happened to me wasn't. There's other stuff going on. Let's put it that way. That made me believe that I wasn't just one part in. My brain hadn't woken up before the other. And that's the idea, is that one part of our brain isn't quite awake yet, and that's when we sort of wake up and we can't move. Other explanations. In terms of comparing them to the hooded entities, as people often say that they're paralysed. when they're having these experiences with these guys. The whole hag syndrome goes back well into medieval times, where it's believed that an old hag or a witch would sit on your chest and paralyse you in your sleep. Other explanations are incubi and succubi, so they're male or female demons who try to have their way with you in your sleep, essentially. Sleep paralysis, where the brain is in a transition state between deep dreaming, sleep and waking up. During REM's dreaming sleep, the brain has turned on most of the body's muscle function, so we cannot activate our dreams. So therefore, we're temporarily paralysed. Now, I sort of just popped in demons there this afternoon as a possible explanation to these guys. I'm not going to go there with that personally. What do you reckon?
Don't blame the demons.
It's already covered by the incubi and succubi.
Yeah.
There's been a lot of talk in general, I think, I've heard anyway in the last 6 to 12 months. They did something on the radio I think a few weeks ago in a segment. People rang up and talked about their experiences, about that feeling like they were pinned down, or that they were
sleep paralysis.
Yeah, or that they were being interfered with and stuff like that. Yeah, and even like through Facebook there was a thing going around where a lot of people were sharing and saying they've had those experiences.
That's very common. It's a very, very common thing. In terms of demons, these dark wood demons, they don't act like demons. I mean, I don't personally believe in demons, but if you try and think about what a demon is, they don't have the same behaviour as these things. So, yeah. Is there a psychological explanation? Well, that's quite possible as well, particularly when it comes to children, as I said before, because children are very open to fantasy and stuff like that. Other ideas is they're open to whatever. They don't have adult filters, so they just whatever happens to them happens. So they just take it for granted, take it for what it is, sort of thing. So as I said before, many encounters with these things are when dreaming or in a state between sleeping and awake. And as I said before, a meditative state, a hypnotic state, or a mystical kind of experience, state of mind when people experience them. This one I find really interesting too, the collective unconscious. I'm a big fan of the collective unconscious. Does everyone know what that is? Collective unconscious is a Jungian psychology theory, where within each human being there are several archetypes. So one of the examples, we've got several. One is the shadow. So as I said there, the shadow is kind of the aspect of the person that we don't particularly, we're not often aware of. It's sort of it's a dark part of our personality that we don't want to kind of all that bit, Then you have the hero. The hero is, a lot of movies like this, like Star Wars and Lord of the Rings, they have these same archetypes through them. So you've got the old wizard. That's another one. You've got the wizard, you've got the Dark Knight or the Shadow, you've got Darth Vader, you've got Sauron, you've got all those guys. So these are part of us. They're hardwired, or they're dead. Jung said it was sort of like it's just sort of part of our DNA. It's just part of who we are. It's just in there. It's just in our DNA. So are these guys part of the collective unconscious, and are they the shadow? Are they an aspect of the shadow? Maybe. Okay, so another thing is cryptomnesia. Everyone know what cryptomnesia is?
Never heard of it.
Or cryptoamnesia, some people call it. So cryptoamnesia, or I call it cryptomnesia, is that you might read a book, you might see a movie, and this information, you might forget it consciously, but it goes into our subconscious. So it exists in our subconscious, in our subconscious memories, but we're not aware of it. And so these figures, or these things and images can come up in dreams, they can come up in meditative states or mystical states or whatever, and we perceive them as being a possible real thing. So, yeah. So, okay, conclusion. I have no idea. I'm going to be with you, I have no idea what these things are. What I find fascinating is the parallels between all the cases. Not every case is the same. There are people who describe like these, hooded beings. I mean, I've had other accounts sent to me where people are just driving along the road and they'll see one, just standing on the side of the road or in the bush or in the forest or stuff like that. But at the end of the day, I really have no idea what these things are. I've never had an experience with them myself. So I have no idea. What do you reckon? What are your thoughts?
Has anyone here had an experience?
Has anyone had an experience?
No, I think I can honestly say I've never heard of the idea for the closest things, the alien stuff.
Yeah, that's kind of, if you've got to prove the aliens exist first, don't we? If we prove they exist, well, maybe this is possible. But yeah, I really don't know. I really have no idea what these things are. I'm just going to keep, collecting accounts and stuff like that and see where it sort of leads. But as I said earlier, it's something that's not talked about in one of the paranormal circles, and it's not something, it's certainly not something that's being really studied, like ghosts are being studied, and crypto creatures like the owls and blah blah, they're all being studied. But yeah, like I said, there's a few websites, do a Google search, you'll find a little bit about them. Actually, I was reading one last night that had a bit of a forum, so I had a little story and they had people just basically posting their accounts on the forum, and which will, again, pretty parallel with what I've sort of spoken about tonight. So, I don't know. I don't know. You got any ideas? Throw them at me, because I don't know. So, any questions? Not really? A bit bamboozled.
Well done for finding something that most people haven't heard of.
Yeah. Well, that's what Renata said, I would like you to do a talk. And I said, well, as I said, I don't particularly like talking about myself, I'd rather talk about a subject. And that's when I sort of went, well, I kind of want to do this, because it's not sort of what the people are talking about a lot.
Which is exactly what makes it valuable.
Yeah, so I hope you enjoyed that presentation. If any questions, quite happy to answer them.